Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I am your host, God of Heroics, and today we are going over a VOD from my Twitch channel. So if you would like to catch those live, go ahead and subscribe to me on Twitch at God of Heroics, or you can continue to watch them here on YouTube at God of Heroics VT. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified to all future uploads. I constantly have videos going up every Tuesday and Friday at 2:30 p.m. and every so often a VOD will go up on a random day. Just depends on when I'm streaming and what I'm streaming. So I hope you guys enjoy. We are doing a short stream here, mostly so I can get it up on my channel and stop dilly-dallying, but we are discussing, as you see, the traumatic history of Gohan. The slander must stop. You see, I've been a Gohan fan ever since I saw, well, pretty much the first few episodes of Dragon Ball Z as a kid, and I grew up with Gohan, to be honest. This has just been one of my favorite characters in anime, period. But like other characters that I find myself liking, like Deku, I get my character slandered all the time, and people talk so much mess about him back and forth, this way, that way. And they have so much to say negatively about my character, and I mean, I don't see how people see it the way they do. So because there's so much slander and people have so much to say negatively about Gohan, I decided that I'm just gonna go ahead and make a whole video explaining why Gohan is actually a great character and why, in my opinion, he's actually the best character. I mean, I may not be able to convince you guys that he's the best character in all of Dragon Ball, but I can at least let you know the good things about this character as opposed to all the negative things that the internet has to say about him. So first thing I want to note is when Gohan was, before we see him, because when we first see him, he's 4 years old, as we labeled here, he is 4. We're going to talk about all the traumatic things that happened to him and explain that, you know, the life that he's living is not the life that he deserves, and the stuff people say about him is completely unjustified based on the info we have on Gohan. So, we first meet Gohan at the age of 4 when Goku brings Gohan to Kame House to meet some of his friends. He meets Master Roshi, he meets Bulma, Krillin, and I think there was one other person there. Maybe the turtle is who I'm thinking about, but I could be wrong. So, before this, the only thing Gohan knew about was his dad, his mom, and stories that they may have told him, as his curious mind could have been asking questions like, oh, how did you guys meet? Do you have any friends? Blah, 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 blah. Because Gohan was raised on Mount Paozu for the first 4 years of his life. When he gets to meet the others, he tells them that his name's Gohan. He wants to be a scholar. That is actually Gohan's goal. Most people believe Chi-Chi is the one who came up with this goal, and she's forcing Gohan to grow up to be a scholar, much like a lot of Asian parents. And sometimes Hispanic household cultures will force their kids to become lawyers or doctors or some kind of career that makes a shiz ton of money. And that is not the case with Chi-Chi. She's not forcing Gohan to want to be a scholar. All of her efforts to get him to study and to be, to be a scholar is just supporting him in his own endeavors. So when Gohan goes and meets his dad's friends, he believes the strongest person in the world is his dad, because one, this is the only person he knows, and two, if his father has told him anything about their adventures, that proves that so far he's the strongest person. So he likely idolizes and looks up to his father in much that regard, where he sees his dad as the strongest person who can handle anything. And in this first introduction we get to Gohan, Raditz shows up. His uncle drops in, tells them, oh, Goku, you're a Saiyan. We're both aliens that were sent here. We gotta destroy the world. And obviously, Krillin and Goku disagree with this. Krillin gets one-shotted, slapped into a building. Goku gets one-shotted, knocked on his ass. And then Gohan gets kidnapped. This is his first day away from home. And it's gonna be a long ride for Gohan going forward. So, he gets locked up into a space pod, which I should have put on this list because that constitutes more as like claustrophobia and more of the fear factor for this child. But let's just include that with the kidnapped by his uncle, because it is part of the kidnapping. And when his dad and Piccolo arrive to fight Raditz to save him, his dad gets beat on. Unfortunately, his dad and Piccolo both get beat on by Raditz. They don't have the power necessary to defeat Raditz in a like regular hand-to-hand combat, and unfortunately, it really infuriates Gohan. He ends up raging, breaking out, headbutting Raditz, and then passing out. And when he comes to, he finds out from Piccolo that his father has been murdered. Goku died because, we all know Raditz got hit with a special beam cannon while Goku was holding him, and it pierced both of them. So not only has Piccolo subsequently murdered his father, but then while he was passed out, he also kidnapped him and took him to the mountains to train because, unfortunately, there are 2 more Saiyans that will be showing up in exactly 1 year. And Piccolo, after witnessing Gohan's power spike and through his rage, decided that he wants to train Gohan to learn to control that power. So unfortunately, in the whole year, Gohan goes from being 4 to 5 and receives some of the most intensive training he has ever received or ever will receive, because Piccolo's training was throwing him off of a cliff into a ravine, throwing him into a boulder, leaving him out in the wilderness to survive on his own with nothing but a sword and the clothes on his back, fighting against dinosaurs and all sorts of creatures in the wilderness, transforming into an Ozaru, which is mentally and physically taxing. And remember, 4 years old. Now that he's 5, he's likely 5 during some part of his training. It's not exactly stated, but he's 5 when he goes to the front lines to help fight the new invaders, Vegeta and Nappa. During said invasion, there is terrorism that goes on because Nappa blows up an entire city, which everyone does know about. And then he goes ahead and meets his new friends. He meets Krillin. Well, he already met Krillin, but he gets to see Krillin again, and then he's introduced to Tien, Chaozu, and Yamcha. Oh, and his new mentor Piccolo is there as well. So these 5 are here to fight, and fortunately, he catches wind that Goku is going to be coming back. The Dragon Balls were used to wish Goku back to life, and after his full training with King Kai, he's gonna make his way all the way down Snake Road, or Snake Way, I think it was called. Kami's gonna meet up with him to teleport him to Earth, and then he's going to head to the battlefield to continue the fight to help save everybody. Unfortunately, during this time, Tien fights a Cyberman. A bunch of them were made, 1 for each of them. I believe it was 5. Tien fights and kills his Cyberman. Yamcha fights and defeats his Cyberman, but unfortunately does not kill it. And that Cyberman latches onto him and self-destructs. A lot of people give Yamcha slander for this because of the death pose and how he got blown up and all that. But if you really think about it, this Cyberman used it as a last resort because he saw he couldn't defeat Yamcha in a one-on-one hand-to-hand combat, or even just utilizing normal powers in a one-on-one setting. So he pretty much snuck Yamcha and blew him up. Getting snuck is very normal. That's not something you should really slander someone for. But yes, he did not finish the job and he suffered for it. So that is 1 dead body witnessed right in front of his face. Gohan, at the age of 5, has seen his first dead body, but this is the 2nd death that he has unfortunately had to deal with because, again, remember, he had the whole death of his father weighing on him during his training. So Krillin defeats the other Cyberman, Nappa steps up to the plate, and this is where we see the next group of deaths. So Chaozu dies, self-destructing and doing no damage. Tien, after getting his arm punched off, utilizes a spirit tri-beam, a spirit neo tri-beam, using all his remaining energy to try to take out Nappa, and unfortunately it was not enough, and Nappa survives and Tien dies. And then during his fight with Nappa, Gohan loses control of the battle and is about to get killed by a Bomber DX, in which Piccolo jumps in the way and intercepts, unfortunately taking the full brunt of that attack and dying. Giving his last few words to Gohan about how he was really coming around to like him, and they were like they had a bond together, and he dies basically in Gohan's arms. So that's 3 more dead bodies right in front. That's 3 dead bodies in front of Gohan. Chaozu self-destructs. Yamcha's already dead. Tien dies in front of him, and then Piccolo dies defending him. leading him to pretty much lose his mind, be angry, and upon Nappa trying to kill him, his father luckily does come in and save him. He defeats Nappa, and then during the fight with Vegeta, Vegeta turns to a great ape, starts crushing every bone in his father's body, which Gohan comes to be aware of and goes back with Krillin because they were leaving the battlefield. He goes back with Krillin to go help his father out, and during this fight, Gohan also gets turned into a great ape, and that's more physical and mental torture as well. And then, unfortunately, after defeating Vegeta ends up escaping in his pod and all that stuff, and Gohan can finally go back home to his mom. He reunites with his mother after a full year, and he is able to continue his studies. He's able to embrace in the love of his mother and all that stuff. So he has to catch up on all this work. Unfortunately, his mother does hire a tutor. I believe it's in this period. I believe it's before Namek, I'm pretty sure. So within that time between being on the front lines and before his decision to go to Namek, spoiler if you didn't know somehow, like 40 years later. But yeah, Gohan ends up meeting with a tutor that his mother hired to help catch him up on his schoolwork since he's been out of school for literally a year. And unbeknownst to his mom, this tutor is actually abusive, and he literally pulls out a whip when Chi-Chi is gone and starts beating Gohan, trying to force him to pretty much learn the lesson. Not really much damage to Gohan physically, considering the stuff that he's been through, but it's very unfortunate that upon coming back, he has to deal with this kind of abuse, and sanctioned by his mother, no less. I mean, he probably doesn't believe that his mom knows about this, and Chi-Chi definitely didn't know that this guy was like this, but the fact that she paid a guy to tutor him, and this is the outcome, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of trauma there mentally as well. So, at the age of 6, Gohan decided that he wanted to go be part of the team that goes to Namek to retrieve the Namekian Dragon Balls and wish all their friends back to life. Even though he technically doesn't have to go, but he wants to because Gohan is a pacifist who loves life and pretty much is prioritizing saving these lives rather than, fighting and killing people. Upon getting to Namek, unfortunately, Gohan is faced with more genocide and racism because the Frieza force is there also looking for the Dragon Balls. Dodoria and I believe Zarbon was there, and they were pretty much torturing people. Hold on. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm yawning so hard, but anyway, Gohan witnessed them torturing people, killing people. These are Namekians, by the way, so like a whole village of Namekians are getting tortured and murdered, and Gohan jumps in to save them, but all that stuff happens. So there's blatant terrorism throughout all of the Namek saga. So if you didn't know that, now you know. But yeah, there are people are constantly getting harassed, they're constantly getting murdered, they're getting basically bombed by these superpowered attacks. Their whole planet is just getting annihilated section by section as these crazy superpowered battles are going on and stuff of that nature. So they're all just witnessing this happen, and Gohan is unfortunately part of that. When the Ginyu Force shows up, Gohan and Krillin fight Guldo, and Guldo paralyzes him with his superpower and is about to skewer Gohan and Krillin until Vegeta cuts off his head. So that is paralysis and impending doom, as you see right there on the list. Vegeta gets beat on a lot on Namek, but I'm just gonna put it here as Vegeta gets beat on because this was during the Raccoon fight. They had to Gohan and Krillin had to step in and save him, but unfortunately Gohan and Krillin were both beaten to a pulp, and Gohan was quite literally paralyzed when he got kicked in the neck, breaking his spine, I can only assume, and paralyzing him on the ground. His eyes were literally paling over white, and he was left at death's door. So Obviously Goku shows up. He gives him a Senju Bean. He takes out Raccoon, and then Jace and Berta are defeated, and Goku ends up fighting Ginyu, who swaps bodies with him, and then Gohan, Krillin, and Vegeta have to work together to defeat Ginyu and get Goku his body back. But unfortunately, that means Gohan has to literally witness and help beat on the body of his father, leaving him so injured that Goku had to go into a healing pod after this happened, which he stayed in up until Frieza reached his final form. But before we get there, because we are getting ahead of ourselves, Krillin unfortunately gets skewered by Frieza. Frieza fights Vegeta in his first form, decides to go up to his second, where they have an intense fight with Frieza, and Frieza shoves his whole horn through Krillin's midsection, and then just jiggles him on the horn, torturing him and tormenting him in front of everyone before throwing him to the ground and then continuing to pursue everyone else for murder. Fortunately, Dende was there and was able to heal him, but good lord was this torturous. So, Frieza has to fight Piccolo because they wished Piccolo back and wished him back to Namek, and Piccolo was able to help out in the fight. He was stronger than second form Frieza, so Frieza transformed to his third form and unleashes a barrage of death beams on Piccolo, which Gohan unfortunately had to witness. Vegeta gets brutalized and beat up yet again, and then his mentor gets shot up again, because when Frieza is in his final form, after Goku finally arrives and has a cool fight with Frieza, he throws a spirit bomb at him. They think he's defeated, but unfortunately that is not the case, and Frieza beams Piccolo in the chest, seemingly killing him. Fortunately, he was not dead, and Gohan has to carry him to safety. But after seemingly killing Piccolo in front of his face, he levitates Krillin into the air and forces him to self-destruct, raining bits and pieces of Krillin upon Goku and Gohan. So he has to carry his mentor to safety while his dad fights Frieza and presumably dies when the entire planet of Namek explodes. Gohan doesn't want to believe this at first, which is, one of the first stages of grief. He is in denial that his father is dead, and he pretty much has to fight Vegeta for over this, believing that his father is still alive and that he'll pull through and that nothing bad will befall his dad. And unfortunately, Vegeta beats the absolute piss out of him, which is really sad. It really sucks. That is one of my least favorite parts, but it does happen. But now we get to move on to when Gohan was 7. After the whole thing where he was 6, he can go back to his studies and things are fine and it seems like there's peace. Unfortunately, his dad is still missing, but it's okay because now there's peace. His dad fought for the safety of the galaxy. And then unfortunately, Trunks comes from the future because Frieza arrives yet again to Earth, ready to kill everybody, finishing the job that he didn't finish on Namek. And he wants to blow up the whole planet after killing everybody to kind of erase everything Goku was fighting for. So this is more doom, but Frieza gets stopped. Him and his father both stopped and murdered by Trunks, which is great. But then Trunks has bad news. Goku arrives and Trunks basically tells them that in 3 years there will be 2 androids that show up, and those androids are going to annihilate everybody. They're going to kill everybody and destroy the planet for shits and giggles. And unfortunately, this is another time where Gohan is just thrust into unfortunate circumstances. Now he's both training and studying so that when the androids show up, that he is at least strong enough to, help out in some degree. And because he's doing all this extra training, likely with Piccolo, and studying with his mom, and likely being in school of some sort, he's very likely, running low on energy and running low on sleep, because it's a constant back and forth preparing for the coming apocalypse and also trying to study and be something in life. 3 years later, let's fast forward to when the androids do arrive. So they are invaded by the androids 19 and 20, who was Dr. Gero and then the marshmallow fat fuck that I really don't like. Um, Gohan witnesses his dad almost die because he basically collapses to a heart virus, which fortunately Trunks did give him the medicine for 3 years prior. And Vegeta shows up to finish Android 19. So, death scare, pretty much. I forgot to put that on the list, but this is a death scare that Gohan has to deal with. And then on top of that, Gero impales Yamcha while they're looking for Gero after 19 is killed. So unfortunately that happened. And then I put genocide and terrorism. Well, the terrorism is constant because it's Red Ribbon Army. They're just a terrorist group. And with, you know, the androids doing their thing, especially after 17 and 18 get awakened, a lot of people get killed. There's homicides, there's genocides, and then with Cell arriving, when he does, he starts absorbing people, which is very unfortunate, and everybody pretty much has to bear witness to this. Like a whole city of people get like drank through his butt straw and all that stuff. His friends get beat on. Like 18 fights Vegeta, breaks his arms, beats the hell out of him. 17 and 18 beat the hell out of everybody else. It's pretty brutal. But the plan is to use the hyperbolic time chamber to train, where I believe Vegeta and Trunks went in first for their year of training, and everybody else had to pretty much hold the fort down. And then while Vegeta and Trunks came out, and oh wait, no, sorry, I think Piccolo went first, and I could be wrong. What? I don't remember. Anyway, they went before Gohan and Goku, which is all that matters. Gohan and Goku go in for their year of training, which will bring us to Gohan at the age of 11. And Piccolo had his fight. Goku, Vegeta and Trunks had their fight with Cell. Piccolo got to fight with, I think Piccolo did go first, because Piccolo fights 17 and they're pretty much like stalemating each other, and that's when Imperfect Cell shows up and he absorbs 17. Then Vegeta and Trunks show up because they're done with their training, and they fight Cell in his second form, and Cell gaslights Vegeta into helping him absorb 18. Yeah, and then he gets to his perfect form, and then we get Gohan at age 11. Sorry if the picture's a little blurry. It looked fine when I was looking at it, but then once I stretched it to this format, it started to get kind of blurry. But you get the point of the picture. This is Gohan in Super Saiyan 2. So there was impending doom again. They already had the impending doom of the androids before when they said they would destroy the world and kill everybody. But now Cell decided to host the Cell Games, and he says, I believe it was 10 days. If he would fight, you know, they would have to show up to fight him, the strongest fighters on Earth, and then if they lose, he's gonna destroy the planet. And Goku fights. He fights. This is after his training with Gohan. Goku fights Cell. They both go all out. And when the fight comes to a close, it's because Goku has forfeited. And this is constantly hitting that problem of Gohan looking up to his dad as the strongest, and then Goku's like, yeah, I give up, you're stronger than me. And turns out that Gohan is actually stronger in his Super Saiyan state, just as Super Saiyan 1, that he's already stronger than Cell and Goku. If he was really locked in and he was a fighter, he would have won that fight. And that's proven when Goku asked Gohan, like, hey, is there anything that you saw us do in that fight that you couldn't take, that you couldn't, you know, counter, you wouldn't be able to do anything about it? And Gohan's like, nah, I saw all of that, everything you guys were doing. I understood the whole fight, you know, like he pretty much knew what to do in every situation. And Goku's like, yeah, well, both me and Cell were going all out like that. We were giving it our all. And if you understood everything going on, you would have been able to defeat probably both of us, you know, in a 1v1 at least. So I say both of them because if Gohan can defeat Cell, he can defeat Goku, because Goku basically said that Cell was stronger than him. So now the weight of the world is on Gohan's shoulders. Remember, this is a pacifist who wants to become a great scholar, and the entire weight of the world is being thrust upon his shoulders. He does not enjoy fighting whatsoever, but now he doesn't have a choice. And Goku comes to that realization. So unfortunately, he was misunderstood by his father. He was physically tormented, getting beat on, getting crushed and everything in the ring. And after telling Cell that he doesn't want to be that guy, Cell finds out torturing him doesn't work, so he makes Cell Juniors, who are all equally as strong as Cell, by the way. And the Cell Juniors go to all his friends and start beating up on everybody. Goku, Vegeta, Krillin, Trunks, I believe Tien and Yamcha showed up to the fight. Piccolo was there. Everybody that was there at the fight is getting beat on by a Cell Junior. And then the straw that breaks the camel's back is when 16 dies. Android 16 was another android who was created for the sole purpose of killing Goku, but because he didn't want to do all the destruction that 17 and 18 were doing, because he actually, like Gohan, loves life. He doesn't like fighting. He very much does enjoy nature and, like watching everything thrive and all that. But he also understands that when the chips are down, you got to do what you got to do. And he gives some encouraging words to Gohan, and Cell unfortunately crushes his head, which is pretty sure is some form of trauma to Gohan as well, witnessing another death in front of his face, especially someone that understood him truly as much as 16 did. Then Gohan snaps and goes Super Saiyan 2. He beats the hell out of all the Cell Juniors. He doesn't kill them, because if you notice, the way to defeat Cell was to destroy every molecule in his body, and he did nothing of the sort to the Cell Juniors. He just blew them up pretty much by, kicking them, punching them in half and all that stuff, chopping their heads off. So they're still alive. That is very much true, because currently in the timeline, they live on an island the same island that Android 17 monitors, and they help him take care of the wildlife on that island. Anyway, he defeats the Cell Juniors, and then he goes on to overpower Cell, and he, in his crazed Super Saiyan 2 state, is basically like, I'm not gonna kill Cell yet, I'm gonna make him suffer, which crazy that Gohan flipped in that direction. But as a pacifist who's watched everybody get beat up, get tortured, people get murdered, he's seen genocide, and considering everything he's seen up to this point at the age of 11, and now he's finally snapped and is more powerful than every threat he's ever come up on, he's taking it all out. He's literally taking out all the anger, all the rage, the frustration, the trauma that he's been holding back, and he's letting it all out on Cell. Unfortunately, Cell decides he decides to blow up the whole planet. He turns his whole body into a bomb, pretty much, essentially ready to explode. He tells Gohan, if you so much as touch me, I'll self-destruct right now. However, I'm a self-destruct regardless. You just got, a few more minutes left to make things right with God or whoever you believe in. Say bye to your friends and stuff. And Gohan falls to his knees, pretty broken, because now the world is pretty much doomed because of his actions. He's like, I didn't finish him off when I had the chance, and now everyone's gonna die, And Goku decides to pretty much, he mans up and he takes accountability for his own actions. He misunderstood his son, threw him in here, and now this is the situation they're in. So Goku places his hand on Cell. He says goodbye to his family and friends, and he instant transmits with Cell away to King Kai's planet, and unfortunately dies in the explosion. And Gohan is very sad about this, because obviously he blames himself, because he's like, I didn't take down Cell, I didn't kill him when I had the chance, and because of that my father had to sacrifice himself because it was the only way to get Cell off the planet. And then Cell comes back and he kills Trunks, so that's another body in front of Gohan's face that he is, by this point, still blaming himself for. And then he's unfortunately forced to kill Cell, which he does with the father-son Kamehameha, which we all know is one of the most iconic moves in the show. I don't have to explain it or show you. So this unfortunately creates an abandonment issue where he does not have his father anymore, and it seems like his dad abandoned him, especially because when they try to bring him back with the Dragon Balls, Goku says he doesn't want to come back because it seems like all of the threats that have come to their planet are his fault. And this does make sense to some degree, because since the beginning, Raditz showed up and it was pretty much his fault that Raditz was there because he was there for Goku, and everybody got hurt. There was a lot of danger going on, and he didn't want to die, and he didn't want his friends to die because of him. Then after the Namek stuff goes down, Goku is yet again faced with the problem of people coming to Earth to, deal with him, which is Frieza coming back along with his father and a small portion of their army to pretty much kill everyone he knows and loves, which was technically Goku's fault because he was there because of Goku. And then the whole thing with Goku destroying the Red Ribbon Army as a kid led to Dr. Gero creating all the androids, which led to Cell and all that stuff. So Goku's like, if I stay gone, we won't be having these kind of threats pop up on the planet, so you guys will be able to live in peace, which is the ultimate sacrifice. But unfortunately, Goku has pretty much only had 5 years total with his son, which is the first 4 years of his life on Mount Paozu, and then the year of training in the hyperbolic time chamber. And now Gohan's like 11 years old, so 7 of those years has been spent not really, spending any time with his dad, unfortunately. And then on top of that, Goten is born sometime after, which forces Gohan to also not only continue his studies, which he was going to do anyway, not force him to, but he continues his studies to being a great scholar, but he's also forced into pseudo fatherhood, which is very unfortunate because Goten looks exactly like his dad, like to a T. So it's a constant reminder of his shortcomings as a person in general, which unfortunately got his father killed. So there are 7 years of peace that go by, and we finally get to Gohan basically graduating high school. He has become a superhero on the streets known as the Golden Warrior, using his Super Saiyan state to pretty much overpower any and all threats that him and his friends had ever come upon on the streets. Just because the world is not having impending doom does not mean that there are not still villains, because there definitely are still people, committing crimes here and there, and Gohan is the hero that's going to stop all of it. Also, he meets Fidel when he gains his new I guess you could call it pseudonym of the Great Saiyaman, or his superhero alias, the Great Saiyaman. He meets Fidel and things are going well. She's pretty much of a tsundere, but eventually comes around. She likes him and all that stuff. So they go to the World Martial Arts Tournament. Fortunately, Goku is coming back for just 24 hours, though, so he's going to get to meet everybody again, see his kids, his wife, and all of them, and enjoy one more tournament before he goes back to being dead in Otherworld. Unfortunately, during this time, Babidi is hatching his plan pretty much to create Majin Buu, or reawaken Majin Buu, rather. And because of this, he gets Spopovich and what was his name? Yamu, I think, was Spopovich's brother, and they joined the tournament. Videl is unfortunately forced to fight Spopovich in the tournament, where she gets one of the most brutal anime beatings, or just beatings in general, that we have ever seen. So much so that even when she was about to fall out of the ring, broken and battered and bleeding, Spopovich pulls her back in and continues the onslaught of attacks on her, which is very unbecoming of any fighter ever. And it's so bad. It's traumatic. And remember, this is the woman that Gohan is going to marry and start a family with. Imagine seeing your future wife, like the woman you're with and you're going to start a family with, and, can have a future with, getting beaten on this level. And on top of that, when Gohan is ready to jump in and save her, his dad literally tells him not to do it. So here's the thing, I do have to play devil's advocate just a little bit. In the tournaments, the World Martial Arts tournaments, killing somebody is not necessarily looked down on. It is understood as martial artists during this tournament that because of the nature of these battles and the people they could be paired against, that it is possible to receive injuries and potentially die in these battles. And everyone does sign a waiver and pretty much agrees to these rules when they decide to join. So that means that Videl understood that death was likely to happen or possible to happen, and she signed up that she's okay with dying. And I think that's why Goku told him not to do anything, because not only would she get disqualified, but as a fighter, she would be upset with him because she didn't let him finish the fight. And Goku realized that Videl was a capable fighter from the beginning of the match anyway, because Spopovich didn't start this Majin onslaught with the Majin symbol on his head until after Videl had already beat the brakes off of Spopovich and broke his neck, literally turning his head completely around 180. Which, if he didn't have the power of Majin on his side, Spopovich would have died in this battle during this time. So, that being understood, I can definitely say Goku stopping him from jumping in makes sense according to the rules of the tournament. However, mentally having to sit there and watch that is very unfortunate. Gohan does later on get his energy stolen, and it is taken to pretty much fill at least half the gauge to reawaken Majin Buu. And then unfortunately, Piccolo and Krillin, I think it was just those two, I don't think anybody else was part of it. Those two get spit on by Deborah, which petrifies them. And as far as Gohan knows, there's no way to save their lives. And then, like, if the statues crumble, that's pretty much it. Um, then he fights Deborah, which is pretty much the devil. I can only imagine that fighting somebody who looks like the biblically, not biblically, but the socially accepted depiction of Satan would actually be terrifying. I can't imagine facing someone like Deborah. It's just like, oh yeah, it's just a guy. Like, no, that guy looks like the devil. So because of his extreme loss in this fight, getting pretty much handled the way he was and having a hard time, and then Vegeta talking down about him, about how he's gotten weaker and he's not even close to as strong as he was when he was fighting Cell, pretty much hits Gohan hard. Unfortunately, that takes down his confidence a lot. And then when Majin Buu is actually brought back to life, Gohan has to fight him to try to save the world, and unfortunately, he comes extremely close to death yet again before being saved by Supreme Kai. He gains his training, gets his ultimate form, and when he returns to combat to fight Super Buu at this point, he finds out that most people have died. Pretty much everyone has died because Piccolo, trying to stall for time, told Super Buu, "Hey, you still got other people on the planet to kill, so why not kill them and then come back to us since we're the strongest people on the planet?" And then Majin Buu used Ill Bomber or human extinction, right, whichever name you want to go by. And it kills everybody on the planet except the people that were on the lookout, and then Chi-Chi gets killed, and so forth and so forth. So it's just Piccolo, Goku, Vegeta, and then Goten and Trunks who were still alive. Mr. Satan as well was still alive, and I think Dende. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, so then after this fight, Super Buu finds a workaround to get to get Goten and Trunks to fuse and fight him. He absorbs them. He also absorbs Piccolo, and then Gohan also gets absorbed. Then after Vegeta and Goku save everybody from being inside of Super Buu, Buu reverts back to his original form, being Kid Buu, and he bombs the planet, in which case, unfortunately, Gohan dies with him. I will always say that I believe Goku should have gotten Gohan as one of the people that he saved. Like, they saved Hercule, Mr. Satan. They saved his dog. I'm pretty sure they saved Majin Buu, like the good Buu that got spit out. And I'm like, pretty sure you could have grabbed Gohan. Like, even if you just tossed him on your back, or if you like he could have just like hooked it, like, grabbed him with his legs or something and then instant transmitted. He had options. He definitely had options. But then even then, when Gohan was dead, Kid Buu teleported to Otherworld and then was putting belt to ass on people again. So even in death, Gohan still can't rest, which is pretty sad to say. Like, he really only has like one goal in life, and he can't even accomplish that one goal because stuff like this keeps happening. But anyway, we know the rest of that story. Goku ends up defeating Kid Buu with the Spirit Bomb, hoping he comes back someday, which he does, being revived as Oob. So not much to say about the Battle of Gods movie. There was the unfortunate, not hope, but the unfortunate curse of the world being in peril yet again, because Beerus had decided that he was going to destroy the planet if Goku lost the fight when in Super Saiyan God. Gohan also, while stalling for his dad, got one-shotted along with all his friends because Beerus beat all of them, which isn't necessarily just physical torment because Gohan's pretty used to getting hit at this point, but it's more so mental torment because now he's starting to lack confidence in his ability, and this has been happening for a while. After that is the Resurrection F movie, where Gohan and his friends have to step up to the plate and fight Frieza's army while they wait for Goku and Vegeta to arrive. And this is impending doom yet again. I also put genocide on this list because right before the fight started, Frieza like blew up West City. And by the way, if you live in West City, don't just don't, because like that city gets tormented a lot. Like Cell drank people there, they got bombed by Nappa, and then they get bombed by Frieza. Like just don't live in West City, please. Make it look populated, but just don't ever have nobody live there. And then Frieza decided to shoot him up with death rays, so that's more torment that he had to suffer. And then lacking more confidence because he had just beat up this guy that you see on here. I forget what his name was, but Gohan basically one-shot at this guy and was feeling himself. But then obviously he's now lacking his confidence. And after this, it pretty sucks. Like it pretty much sucks. Gohan is close to getting back to wanting to train again though, but at this point Gohan is already living a good life, so we'll get to that later, but he's already living a good life and doesn't want to fight. And he's like, hey, when it comes to protecting Earth, that's what my dad, Vegeta, and Piccolo are for, but unfortunately Gohan still has to get caught up in all this stuff anyway. So during the Black arc, he was just lacking confidence in general, and he witnessed hope decline. This is because he pretty much was not in fighting shape at all. He's just a general guy at this point. And while that's good for his goal, it's pretty bad because when Trunks comes back, he's looking for help defeating Goku Black, and Gohan is quite literally useless in this entire arc. Like, as you see, this is the biggest thing Gohan does in this arc is share ice cream with Trunks, and that's not saying much considering that like sharing ice cream with somebody while their entire timeline is in peril is basically nothing. But yeah, then he witnesses hope decline. I say that because twice, at least in the anime it was twice, in the manga I think it was once, but in the anime Trunks comes back and he's, you know, pretty beat up and looking for help. Then Black shows up, Goku fights him, yada yada. But then Goku and Vegeta actually come back to their main timeline twice after getting washed by Black and Zamasu. And Gohan has to see this happen like both times, and there's still nothing he can do about it. Like if he went over there, he's so weak he would just be a liability. But after this, Gohan decides to get back into training. He trains with Piccolo to regain his power and then some, and he becomes strong enough right before the Tournament of Power. He becomes strong enough to face Goku in Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, which I think is a huge jump up from where he was when he first got his ultimate form, where he was able to basically wash Super Buu. But now being able to fight Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, which was used in the fight against Black, is actually pretty crazy. And then on top of that, this is multiversal impending doom because the Tournament of Power has already started now. As we see, we're talking in this panel, and multiversal impending doom, and he takes part in multiversal genocide. This is mostly in part to pretty much Gohan being in the Tournament of Power in general. I know a lot of people rag on Goku for this one. They're like, hey, it's your fault, you're a villain, blah blah blah. Zeno was going to annihilate all of their universes. Yeah, Zeno was going to annihilate every single one of the universes with lesser with the lower number of mortals. So every universe that was in the Tournament of Power was just going to get wiped without any kind of conversation. They weren't even going to be told that this was going to happen. At least Goku, by bringing up the tournament, gave them a fighting chance. And then all of them pretty much survived in the end anyway, when they were all wished back. But it's not like they knew they were going to get wished back. So as far as they knew, they were just fighting for survival. So not only was the entire multiverse in danger, and Gohan pretty much had the weight of his universe on his shoulders because he was the team captain essentially, but by defeating all the people that he did defeat, and defeating the people he took part in defeating, Gohan inexplicably was one of the people that took part in genociding entire multiverses. Like I know genocide is like, it's not a big enough word for this. Like I know, so the word ecocide is like when you destroy the entire ecosystem. So like it can be like destroying the entire planet. But when it's a multiverse, I feel like there's got to be a bigger word for that. I should have said multiversal ecocide, but even then, like each universe is more than just a single ecosystem. So anyway, we'll figure out a word for that probably later. But yeah, Gohan took part in that. And then when he was 24 was when the Moro arc happened. Not a lot of crazy crap happened, but just the usual, invasion. Gohan got enlisted into Space Police, which is the Galactic Patrol, and they were fighting. I'm not gonna really spoil it, but it's just pretty much well, they're the Space Police, so you can imagine they were fighting criminals. Pretty much all the criminals that were in space prison got released and they came to Earth for reasons I won't explain. And Gohan had to fight alongside his homies. I don't know why Chaozu was here in this fight. I don't even remember Chaozu actually doing anything, but surprisingly, Yamcha held up. I know Tien trains constantly, and he was in the Tournament of Power, so you can imagine he's at least pretty tough. Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, obviously they're strong, but seeing Yamcha and Chaozu here is like, oh, did you guys really get that much stronger? I mean, at least on the level of like other Galactic Patrol members and stuff, but I don't know. Well, that's not really a conversation for today. But yeah, impending doom because the planet was was being threatened, and Goku and Vegeta weren't even there to defend it. And then we get to the magnum opus of the Gohan storyline, where he went Beast Gohan, the Dragon Ball superhero movie. Unfortunately, Pan was kidnapped. Most of this was orchestrated. All the Pan stuff was orchestrated by Piccolo for the most part, aside from the very end. But Gohan didn't know about this. So from Gohan's perspective, while he's working, his daughter got kidnapped, which to him also means that there's something going on with Piccolo, because Piccolo is normally the one assigned to pick her up if Gohan is working. And if Fidel is working, I assume, because she wasn't there. But yeah, normally he's like, if we're busy, we're too busy to get her, Piccolo picks her up and he babysits for a little bit. So not only is his daughter getting kidnapped, but Piccolo is probably missing or hurt or something like that. And then his daughter's safety was being withheld because when Gohan showed up to the Red Ribbon Army base, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 were fighting to stop him from reaching his daughter, which is crazy. Then they called him a villain. They believed that Gohan and the Z Fighters were all like some shadow organization terrorists that were basically doing evil nonsense. So unfortunately, Gohan was being slandered during his fight as well. Piccolo basically had Pan scream to get Gohan to, go harder in the fight. So as far as Gohan knew, his daughter was being tortured up there as well. So, and she's like 5 years old because she's in kindergarten. I think she's like 5. So now his 5-year-old is seemingly being tortured after being kidnapped. His friends and family were in danger because Piccolo was there. Obviously, Pan was there. Krillin, Goten, Trunks, and Android 18 showed up because they all ended up helping in the fight after Cell Max got awakened. So now his friends and family were in danger because they were fighting Cell Max. Piccolo seemingly died when he was in his giant orange form, and Cell Max whooped on him and then caught him over his head. And Gohan, in his eyes, saw Piccolo die, and that's when he goes into his beast form for the first time. And the weight of the entire world is on his shoulders because Gohan is the only one that can defeat Cell, especially with Goku and Vegeta being MIA, fighting on Beerus's planet training. And yeah, fortunately, Gohan is able to defeat Cell Max. But this is all to say that Gohan has experienced a ton of trauma. All he's ever wanted to do since the age of 4 was become a good scholar and likely help his family out. I mean, knowing Gohan, he sends money to his family, which actually he doesn't even have to do anymore because with Goku pretty much saving the world around every corner, Mr. Satan is actually paying him a shit ton of money under the table, essentially. And Goku's using that money to care for the family. So in a sense, he doesn't have to work a job. He does. He's a radish farmer, but like the money that Hercule pays out to his family is so much so that Goku and Gohan technically don't have to work, but Gohan's doing it for the love of the game. He wants to be a great scholar, and now he is. And he's married to Fidel, who is the love of his life. So with us debunking all of the Gohan slander and talking about the trauma that this pacifist lover of life and great scholar has gone through, we're going to talk about some stuff to glaze Gohan over, because there's a ton of stuff that Gohan has done that people just overlook for seemingly no reason. And the first thing is that he was the first one to damage Raditz. And not only that, but he also was the first person that we ever see on screen break the Saiyan armor. So that armor that Raditz wears, he was the first one to damage it on screen. Obviously, like characters before he was born, like Bardock, had his armor broken and stuff like that. But on screen, Gohan was the first to do it. He 1v1'd both Vegeta and Frieza. He 1v1'd Vegeta when Goku was trying to give the Spirit Bomb to Krillin and all that, and Gohan surprisingly didn't die. And he also 1v1'd Frieza, and in pretty much every form, from second, third, and final form, Gohan 1v1'd him in every single one of those forms and was going ballistic on Namek. He constantly is prioritizing lives, even in like side stories and like filler arcs. He prioritizes saving lives over like killing the villain, which is very on brand for Gohan, because again, he's a pacifist. And I think that's also why in a lot of games that have team-based abilities, Gohan always ends up being in the tactical or healer side of things, so that he can also he's mainly the one who's like supporting the team rather than leading it. But there is times where he can lead the charge. Usually they have like Gohan and like as a kid, and then Super Saiyan Teen Gohan as support, and then usually like Super Saiyan 2 and then Ultimate Gohan are usually like fighters. I know Genshin Squadron's a little different. Gohan's pretty much locked into the technical role. If they do add Beast Gohan, I feel like he's going to be in the damage role or maybe a tank role, who knows. Anyway, he was the first to receive Super Saiyan 2. Goku and Vegeta were able to obtain it after him, but Gohan was the pioneer. And then obviously Caulifla and Kale, Kale is a different story, but Caulifla gets Super Saiyan 2 as well. He was the first character to defeat a final boss in the Dragon Ball timeline that was not Goku, that we see on screen, because he defeats Cell. And then we have later on, there's another character in the manga. If you haven't read it, I'm not going to say anything because it'll spoil something later on, but there's a character who works in tandem with Goku to defeat somebody, and the final attack doesn't go to Goku, but still. And then he became a street level hero during times of peace. There was no impending doom on the world, but he was still, he still decided that he was going to become a superhero and defend the people, because that's what Gohan cares about, saving people's lives, not just stopping the planet from being destroyed, but caring for all life in general. So he was still using his power to care for people as well. And he was the first Saiyan to obtain an exclusive form twice. because he obtained the ultimate form, and then he obtains beast form by evolving the ultimate form. And he is a very accomplished scholar. He married the second richest woman, and he's a capable father. So Gohan achieved his goal of becoming a scholar that he wanted to do since the age of 4. He's actually an entomologist right now. If you saw the movie, you would know that that's what he is. He studies bugs. He married Videl, who, because her dad is Hercule, the most famous man on the planet. She makes tons of money basically just off rip because she's part of the family, and she's actually stronger than her dad. So if she ever decides to overthrow him as the quote unquote strongest in the world, according to the tournament rules, at least as far as we know, she can. Or they can let that role continue to roll over and Goku can take it. Who knows? Um, but now, because he's married to her, but he doesn't, stop working just because she's rich. He enjoys the work he does. And then on top of that, he's a capable father. Um, Not likely he spends time with his daughter. He actually cares. He wants to be a family man, and he's still training with by himself and training with Piccolo. So now he's also a capable fighter as well. So what most people don't know, especially those who haven't read the manga, I am gonna spoil this, but in the final chapter, the final 2 chapters in Dragon Ball Super, Gohan fights Goku. They go to basically Goku comes to Earth. He gets Gohan, Trunks and Goten go with them, but they go to Beerus's planet. Gohan fights Goku in beast form. Goku uses Mastered Ultra Instinct, and they have a one-on-one sparring match to test out Gohan's strength, and they're both going all out, as much as they can without trying to kill each other. Gohan actually not only is strong enough to knock Goku out of his Master Ultra Instinct form, meaning he landed a hit, and it was strong enough to knock him out of his form, but he also explains how it works. Gohan, being the one who had anger issues and is now trying to channel it, what he does is raise his ki to its maximum when he feels like he's about to break, and then he maintains that strength so that he can have extreme boost to all of his stats, primarily his speed and power. And then he trains with Broly, who was also on that planet, and teaches Broly his methods. So now Broly knows how to use his Super Saiyan form properly as well. And then on top of that, the coolest thing that I say, it's cool to see for Gohan, but also really cool because Goten and Trunks were involved. But Goku, Gohan, Vegeta, Broly, Goten, and Trunks have essentially, I'm gonna say, a 5-way free-for-all, because I'm pretty sure Goten and Trunks were still working as a team, because whenever we see them fight, they're fighting as a duo. They also fought Gohan, by the way. I think it was right after he fought Broly, or before. It was before he fought Broly. They fought him, and they work as a team. They always work as a team, by the way. They even continue the legacy of being the Gray Sandman by being Sandman X1 and X2. So they work alongside each other, and there turns out to be this huge free-for-all battle with just Saiyans. And at the end of the fight, they are all on the ground, exhausted and tired out, all 6 of them. And the fact that they're able to hang with each other is cool, that because we're like, oh, Gohan was able to hold his own against Goku, and then Broly and Vegeta was there as well. It's not just, a one-on-one, but it's a free-for-all. But it speaks more for Goten and Trunks, because for the longest, people just see them as just being weak because they only use Super Saiyan 1 and then they just team up all the time. But considering that they were able to hang with these guys and then were floored, tired with everyone else, is pretty crazy. And then as we saw on this final color splash page, Gohan, Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, and Broly are all on the splash art in those cool poses, and Toriyama says that at least in some ways they're all pretty much relative to each other. And yeah, I think that about closes out my video for Gohan. I believe I have properly explained why I believe, and why you all should understand, that Gohan is very much deserving of praise. The Gohan slander is completely unnecessary. It is entirely made up nonsense. It can't be anything short of just straight up gibberish, and Gohan actually deserves a lot of praise for accomplishing as much as he has, and for being as great of a character as he is, and being as relatable as he can be, being a more grounded character. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me. I'm actually gonna close out stream. Please to subscribe to my Twitch. Go ahead to my YouTube channel, like the video, subscribe to the page, hit the notification bell and all that stuff so you can be notified to all future uploads, and I will definitely catch you guys in the next one. Peace.